Hi guys, I am so happy to be here with you today. I apologize in advance for any loud noises. I don't know what is going on. It's 6 in the morning and there's so many people on this beach, and I've recorded so many times here before at this time, so I don't understand why there's so many people. But look, it's packed with people. So if there's any loud noises, and because I'm squinting my eyes, I'm not angry, it's just the sun is already in my eyes. Okay, so today I wanted to do a video on trying to change other people. It's really frustrating how sometimes people will not change, isn't it? You know, even if it's good for them, they just won't make the shift. And over the years, I've tried to help people change. I try to encourage them to become a better version of themselves. I've tried to be that version for myself and, hope that they will change. But, at the end of the day, they're going to change or they're not going to change. The teacher appears when the student is ready. And sometimes people don't pick that soul path. Perhaps their soul path is not based on personal growth and development. Perhaps their soul path is to go in a different direction. That's what it comes down to. They're not always going to change. But more important than that, when you're asking somebody to change stuff about themselves, it's like telling them that they're not enough, if you think about it. You don't accept some of the things about them, whether they're perceived as negative or positive, it doesn't matter. And so you want them to change because you feel like your way of life is better. And perhaps it is, okay? I'm not arguing anything. I'm just throwing out a different perspective. So I know when people have tried to change me and how it's made me feel. So I've spent many years in relationships, romantic or platonic, and sometimes things come up that I don't particularly like about a person and I want to change it. And so I've tried, directly telling them. I've tried using attraction rather than promotion, like becoming what I want to see if they will meld. And some people are just not going to. Like, for instance, with me and personal growth, I am really into personal growth, like really. And so somebody in my life that's not into improving and growing, doesn't find the same value in it, there's going to be a gap between us very quickly, because that's just what happens. If somebody works on themselves in a certain area, the other person doesn't, the gap over time is going to grow more and more, right? What I came to realize is that not everyone's meant to change. Just because this is something that I'm interested into doesn't mean that somebody else's path is meant to be the same way. And this is really hard to recognize, especially when you're talking about long-term relationships. I had several long-term friendships, like we're talking over 25 years. We drifted apart, that we had nothing in common anymore. And I made the choice to let it go completely. I no longer did birthdays or anything like that. Not everyone is meant to be in your life forever. I don't believe that. And perhaps they'll be in my life at another point, or maybe they won't. And that's okay. It's okay. Because when your energy is brought back to you, you have more energy for other people who are going to support the new version of yourself. And that's what happens when you grow. You become a new version of yourself. And if you think of the new version of yourself as like a radio station, you can't listen to punk rock on a radio and, yacht music at the same time, right? You got to pick a station and you got to tune into that frequency. The people I used to know on a particular radio station aren't going to fit my new radio station, right? Because they're just not ready, or perhaps that's just not their path. Maybe they're never going to be ready. maybe it's never going to be their path, right? Realizing that made me start to look at myself, my own behavior. Why am I trying to change the other person? Perhaps it's me that needs to change, and that is a hard thing to realize. Can I accept this behavior? So if somebody is not into personal growth and I am into personal growth, to me, that's a non-negotiable. It's just something that will not work with me because of how invested I am in it. Asking if you can accept the things that are really causing conflict in your relationships. Can you accept that about somebody? Because nobody's perfect. Nobody is. You can go from person to person to person. You're going to find things about everybody, right? In essence, relationships are here to help us grow, and they're just illuminating the stuff within us that we need to change, or the lessons that we need to learn to evolve to the next level. So, turning it around, instead of trying to change another person, because when I try to change another person, I'm really saying that there's something wrong with them. They're either too much or not enough of something. And that's not true. The truth is that they could be extremely happy with other friends, with another person who will completely accept them for who they are. The truth is that they just might not resonate with you anymore. And those are the things I started to realize. And that's when change really starts to happen. Because then you can turn and look within yourself and ask, is this something I can accept? Is this like a non-negotiable here? Or is this something that I can live with? Right? Because we have to make some compromises. The main thing is to not have to make so many compromises where you compromise the person that you are. And that, to me, is the sweet spot. So if you are in a relationship or have friendships that have qualities that you really want to change in them, I invite you to try looking at yourself. Maybe write a list down of like your non-negotiables, and is this thing that's bothering you a non-negotiable to you? If it's a non-negotiable, then maybe it's time to think about if it's something that you can accept or not in the other person, because they're not going to change until they're ready, and they might not ever change. And to all those young people who are in relationships and they think that you can try to change or control someone, you can't. I promise you, you can't. I did that for years when I'm young, and I'm now well into my 40s, and I promise you, you cannot change people. It's just going to cause you harm and heartbreak. So the easiest and most effective way that I have found so far is to be my true self. And if something bothers me about another person, now I'm not talking about something like petty, but for my example with personal growth, I have dated people in the past, that were not ambitious. They weren't into personal growth. And that is something that I just can't do. I just can't, because I'm too far in the sauce. I really like personal development, and it's a part of my lifestyle. So if somebody's not into the same thing that way, it's a deal breaker for me. But in some other areas of my life, it might not be such a deal breaker. For instance, I don't have to have people in my life that necessarily enjoy doing things with me all the time. I'm actually a pretty independent person, and I really value having alone time. And for some people, that wouldn't be attractive. They want somebody that's more, wants to spend all of their time together, and that's just not me. So, really knowing who you are, knowing what your deal breakers are, and then, you know, looking at the things in other people, and is this something that I can accept or not? Is this in alignment with who I truly am? Or is this a period of time where I've reached a threshold, reached a moment where I've grown into the next level, and, you know, this person no longer resonates with me? And that is not being mean. Actually, that is being really mature about things, because why would you want to keep making somebody else feel like they're not enough or they're too much because can't accept certain things about them that are who they truly are? You know what I mean? I know, guys, I know this is not easy work, but when I started to look at it that way without judgment, like, please guys, this is not about judgment. This is not about judging yourself. This is like looking at yourself with compassion and being like brutally honest with yourself, because your relationships matter. Who the people are that you are around on a consistent basis really shift your life. So if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you need to change somebody, or you want to change something, or you can't accept something about someone else, I invite you to try writing out a list of your non-negotiables and seeing if one of those behaviors falls into that non-negotiable, and then get curious about yourself. What do I really want? Is this something that I can accept? Because really it comes down to acceptance. You can't change somebody, you need to accept them. So can you accept that? And if you can't accept that, somebody else can. And can I accept that? Can I accept that if I don't accept this, that I could lose that person in my life? Could I accept that? Would that be a good thing for me? It might be hard, but it might also be good. I don't know. I love you guys. I hope you found value out of today's video. I know that if I knew this information a long time ago, perhaps I wouldn't have wasted so many years trying to date people that were just the wrong fit to begin with, and spend so much of my energy trying to mold them into what I thought that they should be, when in reality it was really me that I had to just accept, like, is this something I want, or is this something I don't want? So I hope you have a blessed day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.